This is the Angels Postcast, your instant game reaction for the Los Angeles Angels. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, everybody. Hello, Halo Nation. Hello, Halo hopefuls, and welcome back to the latest edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast. Coming at you live, as always, after every single Angels game, right here on the Locked On Angels YouTube channel, and after the fact, wherever you get the Locked On Angels audio podcast feed. If you don't know who I am, what's going on, everybody? My name is Gavin Carlson on this fine Sunday afternoon. Former credentialed journalist in the LA area, spent 4 years covering UCLA sports with the Daily Bruin, and now in year 2 with the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I'm dying at the comments here. Dave says, hello, darkness, my old friend, and Gav. Yes. Hello, everybody. How is everyone doing? If you didn't know, there was an Angels baseball game today, but at the same time, there wasn't really an Angels baseball game today because that would require the Angels, that's a baseball team, I don't know if you know that, playing this thing called baseball, which requires, scoring runs with this bat, this thing in your hand called a baseball bat, scoring runs, getting things called hits to score things called runs, and then the pitchers do things called throwing pitches, and they try to throw strikes, not balls. They try to not allow hits and not score runs. But unfortunately, I don't know if the Angels know that because today they only scored 1 run. They only had 5 hits. They struck out 12 times. And on the flip side, they didn't do anything well as a pitching staff. They allowed 16 hits. They gave up 13 runs, and they have some of the most embarrassing numbers both in this series against the Tigers and just on the season. Right after I say hello to everybody, we're going to get into those embarrassing numbers. But before we do, what's going on, everybody? Appreciate everyone. You're honestly making me laugh. I'm just reading the comments, and I try to, read them while I talk, but sometimes they're just so funny that I just have to laugh. Pick the wrong day to stop sniffing glue. Hi, I left from Japanese group. All are crying. I hate this team. It requires a team to show up. I'm going to start sniffing glue after this. Yeah, the vibes are just in the dumps, folks. I'm going to wake up a little bit, but Angels won, Tigers 13. The Angels lose 3 of 4 against the Tigers. And wow, after doing this amazing thing called snapping a 7-game losing streak, snapping a streak of 10 games where they hadn't scored 5 runs, a stretch in which they went 1-9 in that 10-game stretch. They finally won a game yesterday. It's not like they were unbelievable. Outside of 1 inning, they didn't have an earned run. And how did they respond, right? I was in here yesterday saying, hey, if we can get a win today, that would be 2 in a row. And then you have a 3-game stand against the Blue Jays with some of your better pitchers maybe coming up. And who knows, maybe you win 2 of 3 against the struggling Blue Jays team, right? And then maybe you can turn this thing around. Well, boom. How about a statement from Ron Washington's Angels that no. Let's not even get ahead of ourselves and talk about turning things around. Next series, let's instantly put that to bed by not only losing today, not only losing the series, but getting absolutely pummeled 13-1. And I know I've said it in previous games this season where there's been moments where not a single thing was done right, but this was a game where essentially nothing was done right. It's not like the Angels defensively had, 4 innings, 5 innings that were good, and the Tigers just had 2 or 3 big innings. No, the Tigers scored at least 2 runs in 5 different innings in this ball game. 3 runs in 3 different innings. So it wasn't like, oh, if you got rid of a big 4th inning and a big 8th inning, it would have been a different game. Or, oh, even if they got destroyed, at least they showed some fight and maybe came back for an inning or 2, or only had 5 runs where the offense didn't do nothing in the entire game outside of 1 run. And the defense and the pitching was horrible outside of a few innings. Now, we're going to get into some of these stats, and I'm reading off of Sam Blum's Twitter because he is obviously one of the best at this, Brent McGuire as well. This was from Brent McGuire. The Angels have been outscored by 64 runs, their worst mark through the first 33 games of a season in franchise history. Only the Rockies have been outscored by more runs this season, a whopping 89. But in case you somehow don't know, the Rockies are on pace to be the worst team in NFL, in MLB history. They got crushed again by the Giants today. That game was on because I'm back home in the Bay Area. My parents were watching. The Rockies are 6-28, right? The fact that the Angels have the second worst run differential and only behind a team that's 6-28 shows you how bad they've been. They were outscored, the Angels, they were outscored 34-11 in the series. 34-11. And Taylor Ward finally breaks an 0-for-27 with a double today. Zach Neto has a 10-game hitting streak, and you wouldn't even know it because this team is getting destroyed. And so it's infuriating, it's frustrating, it's every adjective you can think of, and we're going to get to Ron Washington in a little bit, right? We certainly will. But I just had to point out some of those numbers because they're unbelievable. Unbelievable. Some of the craziest numbers I've ever seen in terms of just getting crushed. And it's ironic. On my short yesterday, I'm saying, hey, the Angels aren't unfamiliar with being in tight, low-scoring games, right? In that 7-game losing streak, there was about 4 games where it was 1-1 or 2-2 or 3-1 or 3-3 or 4-2 in the late innings, right? Boy, oh boy, did they say, we're not going to do that today. We're going to be down 5-0 through 3, 8-0 through 6, 11-0 through 7, 13-1, 13-1. 13-1. It's crazy. It's crazy. And I'll be honest, right? I try to give you guys the best shows possible every time I come on here. I'm not a guy who just likes to scream and say crazy things. I know there's going to be other Angels shows today or other Angels people on Twitter that are just going to say, fire on Washington, Artie Moreno should blank, this, that. I try to add nuance and talk about what actually happened in the game. But genuinely, I come into a show like this being like, what the heck? What the heck is there to say? What the heck? I don't know. It's actually crazy. So in case you didn't know, and I'll try to just break down the game very briefly, Jack Kochanowicz was on the mound, and we were hoping he could start to turn things around. It's been a rough start to 2025, and he goes he's 1-5 with a 5.79 ERA because he puts forth one of the worst starts of his career, right? As Jonathan rightfully says, Gav, what nuance is there today? Exactly. That's the point. There's nothing. But Jack Kochanowicz today, he ends up pitching 5 innings, gives up 7 hits, 5 earned runs. He had 2 walks. He hit a batter. And here's the big thing with him, right? And it struck me because it happened again on the broadcast today where the first inning, there's already traffic right away. He comes on to the mound, and it's boom, Kerry Carpenter single, boom, Gleyber Torres hit by pitch, first 2 batters of the ball game. And I'm sitting there going, here we go. There's base runners on already. He's already in the stretch. He's already wild. It's going to be 1-0, 2-0 Tigers in the first inning. And he gets a fly out from McKinstry, and he gets Riley Green to ground out into an inning-ending double play. And on the broadcast, they say, there you go. That's the key of having a sinker ball pitcher. No matter how many runners are on, you can always get out of it with 1 pitch, 1 sinker, 1 double play. It's that easy. And he does it again, Jack Kochanowicz, right? And yes, that is true. Having a sinker is nice. They're going to hit some weak ground balls. You're going to get the occasional double play. It happens with Jose Soriano as well. But the problem is he continues to put people on base, he being Jack Kochanowicz. I don't care if he occasionally gets out of it with the double play. He is fighting with fire every single inning. Top of the second comes out, walks Spencer Torkelson, walks Colt Keith. First and second, nobody out. The second you start the game or the inning once again. So sure, you get a Javi Baez out. And so you're thinking, hey, 2 on, 1 out. Maybe there's a shot at getting out of the inning with some double plays once again. Right? Nope. It's just frustrating. I'm genuinely at a loss for words because you can't keep putting guys on base. You can't keep putting guys on base and expect to survive. So he gives up 2 walks. He gets the force out to Baez, but Trey Sweeney has an RBI single. He gets another fly out. And then this, in my opinion, was one of the turning points. We'll get to another turning point later. But one of the turning points here was You turn a bad inning into an awful inning, right? There's all this talk about how he can turn a would-be bad inning into a, no run or scoreless inning with a double play. But how about turning an inning that could be just 1-0 into a 3-0 inning? That's what happens here, where Kerry Carpenter hits a huge hard fly ball, should have been a home run, ends up just being a double. Joe Adell has an opportunity to make a great catch as well. Unfortunately, he's not able to make it. I'm not expecting him to make the catch, but the point is, a great pitcher is not, as we like to, or not we, but announcers and people like to say with Kochanowicz and Soriano, the best pitchers, yes, they're the ones who can use a sinker or a changeup or something and turn 2 on and 1 out into a double play to get out of the inning. Sure. But a competent pitcher that's still going to be consistent and good enough is one that can limit an inning that's 1-0 instead of making it 3-0. And that's where Kochanowicz has really struggled, in that he cannot give you the double play, but he can also have the blow-up inning, right? The blow-up inning. Instead, if Soriano's pitching today, and even if he does what Kochanowicz does, which, by the way, I don't think Soriano's ever walking 2 guys to start an inning after he goes single hit by pitch, right? But even if he did, and even if he gave up a run, the difference between Kochanowicz and Soriano is he leaves this second inning with it 1-0. He does not let it spiral to 3-0 like Kochanowicz does. And then he does not come out in the top of the third and instantly, with 2 outs, give up a single to Torkelson and a Colt Keith home run to make it 5-0, right? That's the problem. That's the problem, is that the big innings are just way too common against Jack Kochanowicz. He's able to have a decent 4th and a decent 5th, so he salvages his ERA a little bit. But, I mean, you know how this team is. They had some resilience at the beginning of the year, but 5-0, the Angels don't score 5 runs in games. They've only done it once in the last 12, and it was yesterday. Let alone 6. Scoring 6 runs to win the game, right? They're never going to do that. They haven't scored 6 runs since, I believe, April 10th, if I remember correctly. So when this team falls behind 5-0 in the 3rd inning, the ball game is over. It's over. And so Kochanowicz, he's the stinker of the day, one of them, because he gives up those runs that basically makes the game over. But then, boy oh boy, did our bullpen ensure that this ball game was open. Daryl Hicks, 1 inning, 3 hits, and a home run, 3 earned runs. Fermin, he pitches in the 7th inning, gives up 2 hits, 3 earned runs. He had a walk as well. He gave up a home run. And then Toussaint, I don't know. I'll be honest. At that point, I was watching the game on mute, so I don't know what the heck his name is. How bad was he? Giving up 2 runs when it didn't even feel like the Tigers were trying, and he still gave up 2 runs. A walk, 4 hits. So Kochanowicz made this game over, right? You knew the Angels weren't going to come back from 5-0, right? But the bullpen ensured it was over and made it downright embarrassing. Jonathan Mejia in here with the good point, saying that he was only at 77 pitches when they took him out. They really should have let him in. He had just had 2 scoreless innings. I agree with that as well. I think you could have given him 1 more. He did a good job in the 4th and 5th of settling in. At least let him start the 6th. And if he's starting to struggle, you could tell pretty early how a Jack Kochanowicz inning is going to be, right? Because 1st inning, he lets the first 2 guys on. 2nd inning, he lets the first 2 guys on. 4th and 5th inning, those first couple guys aren't on base. So you start the 6th. If he gives up a base runner or 2, you get him out. If he doesn't, he probably gets through the 6th, right? So I totally agree with you there. One of the many questionable decisions from Ron Washington. When we come back from this break, we'll talk about the lineup. It didn't do much outside of really just 2 guys. So we'll talk about those 2 guys, and then we have to talk about Ron Washington after our break here on the Locked On Angels Postcast. Now, today's show is brought to you by Monarch Money. Ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using it, I realized how much I was spending on takeout. Now I budget smarter and save more. And instead of juggling multiple apps, I can use Monarch to check my finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. And today's show is also brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with a marketing campaign, it can connect you with freelance experts who deliver incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day, multiple qualified candidates are available to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, it helps you find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Back here live on, quite honestly, just an absolutely flustered, flabbergasted, bewildered edition of the Locked On Angels Postcast. The Angels get absolutely embarrassed, 13-1. I came in here with an ironic tone, a pathetic tone on purpose. Then I transitioned. It was a little angry talking about Jack Kochanowicz. I don't even know what the emotions are right now. We'll talk about the offense briefly, and if you can call it an offense, because outside of literally three guys, no one else showed up to the ballpark today. Zach Neto goes 2 for 5. He extends his hitting streak to 10. He's absolutely settled in at the leadoff spot once again. In an ideal world, a guy like Zach Neto is hitting second, right? I kind of see, and maybe this isn't a fair comparison, but I was just thinking of it because the Giants game was on in my house. I was watching Willy Adames hit 2 home runs and a double in the 2-hole for the Giants. And I kind of think it makes sense for a guy like Zach Neto to kind of be used the same way Willy Adames is being used for the Giants right now in the 2-hole, right? It's not like I'm reinventing the wheel by saying the 2-hole is a pretty unique spot, but I think it's the right combination or the right spot for his combination of talents, right? He's going to be a consistent base hit guy. Obviously, 10-game hitting streak, has another 2 hits today. The average is rising. It's up to 288, but it still gives you a little bit of an opportunity to have some RBIs, right? Especially if you have a day like today where Tim Anderson goes 2 for 4 from the 9-hole. Having Neto hitting second gives him some RBI chances, right? He's able to combine his speed with his power, with his contact in the 2-hole better than at the leadoff spot. But let's be honest, once again, no one else is hitting. So put your best hitter, get him as many bats as possible, put him at the leadoff spot. Fine. I can't be mad at it. Sean Well, who has been playing better, he goes 0 for 3 with the strikeout. Soler 0 for 3 with the walk. Taylor Ward goes 1 for 3 with that double to break an 0 for 27. But again, he's still hitting 176. Ohapi goes 0 for 2 with the walk and a strikeout. Rengifo goes 0 for 3 with the walk and 2 strikeouts, which that can't happen. And that takes me to, and I almost forgot to do it, that takes me to
time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
The other turning point was the bottom of the first inning with Luis Rengifo. And so I ripped on Jack Kochanowicz plenty. Obviously, the main turning point is you giving up 3 runs in the second and then 2 runs in the third. But none of that probably would have happened if things went a little differently in the bottom of the first inning, where Zach Neto does get that leadoff single, where we do have a 1-out walk from Jorge Soler that makes it first and then second, where we do have a hit by pitch by Logan Ohapi that makes it a bases loaded 2-out at bat for Luis Rengifo. And he comes up 2-2 pitch, but forget getting to the 2-2 pitch. This whole at bat from Rengifo was terrible. And that's why, as much as I would love for Luis Rengifo to be a good leadoff guy in the sense that he's supposed to not strike out a lot, he's supposed to be a guy that has a lot of contact, his strikeout rate is way too high for a guy like him who's not going to give you home runs, really not going to give you many extra base hits. He does have a huge 2 RBI single yesterday, and so I'm not going to rip into him too much. But this is an example of why he can't really be a leadoff guy. He strikes out on 5 pitches, and no pitch, and I mean no pitch. I wish I could flash this on the screen. If you go on MLB.com, they have the strike zone, right? And then they have this little border, frame around the strike zone that's basically the length or the width of a baseball. So it's to show you there's the strike zone, and then there's a whole baseball width around border or frame around the strike zone, so that there's, the close misses will still be in that zone, that they're clearly balls, but they're within one ball, width from the strike zone. Not a single one of the pitches in that at bat, not a single one of them was even in the frame, let alone the strike zone. First pitch, curveball, way below the knees. Not a ball, not 2-3 inches below the knees. A good 6 inches below the knees. Swing and a miss. Takes a ball way outside, right? 1-1 pitch, change up that hits the plate, hits in the dirt, swing and a miss. It's 1-2. Then he gets a four-seamer at his face, still nowhere close. And then on 2-2, the slider is very down and in, swing and a miss. All 5 pitches, nowhere near the zone, and he strikes out. And so it's hard to know. It's hard to know what this game would have looked like if Luis Rengifo has a better at bat here. And I'm not saying he needed to have a grand slam. Obviously, even if he had a base hit, it would have been great. But for him to strike out that poorly, it just kind of set the tone for, oh, wait, let's not let one game yesterday distract from what this team has been doing for the last 3 weeks, which is striking out every time possible. And so they did it another 12 times today. They actually, for once, got on base via the walk quite a bit. 4 walks and a hit by pitch. But who cares? You struck out 12 times. You went 1 for 9 with runners in scoring position, and you were absolutely awful. So had to bring that up as the turning point before going down to the rest of the lineup. Joe Adell was 0 for 4 with 2 strikeouts. Kyron Paris, again, another guy like Rengifo who came through yesterday. Well, he went 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts today. He did get on via the walk. Tim Anderson, the only other bright spot, 2 for 4, also made a couple of decent plays in the field. He's become a respectable, I guess you could say, maybe like 5th string infield option, right? He's going to give you an above average glove. He's only hitting 200, but can occasionally provide you some flair or something. But who cares? Absolutely abysmal. Desmond with a great point here. He says, the stadium was full of fans today. They bought tickets, parking, beers, and merch to see the team getting their teeth kicked in again. Artie will never change as long as the money keeps rolling in. Of course, it's a debate that we've had for many years in the Angels community. Can things change as long as we keep supporting this team? And it's a catch 120, one at each. I don't even know the saying. I'm absolutely losing it, but you know what I mean? It's one of those things where we love our Angels. We want to support our Angels, but us supporting our Angels makes our Angels continuously terrible. That's the horrible irony of the situation, but it's true because yes, throughout this whole horrible stretch, and sure, the fact that they went 8-4 certainly influences it. Thank you, Catch 22. Thank you, Real ROI. The fact that you go 8-4 contributes to this because then everyone goes and buys their tickets for the next month, seeing that the team is 8-4, that Mike Trout's back, yada, 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 and then they fall off a cliff, right? But the fact that the stadium has 40K plus every freaking day, despite this team being 13-20 and having the second best run differential in baseball, it's going to continue this. And so a current man's in here saying things like the Angels have a high enough payroll. Sorry, but it's the truth. Sure, but we don't need to get into the whole rant. Having a high payroll versus having a winning payroll is a different thing. We have a high payroll because we're paying Anthony Rendon millions of dollars to not even exist. We're paying millions of dollars to Mike Trout, who hasn't played many games of baseball, right? Not to mention, when it's time to actually pay for the other things that matter to have a competent baseball team, or dare I say, have a day game the night before you have to fly out to Minnesota from Anaheim, right? Pay for some real trainers, some real facilities, pay for a real minor league system, pay for analytics and simulators and everything, right? Pay for real coaching where it's not just Johnny Washington saying, I'm going to treat every hitter on our team like they're the exact same and just have a holistic team approach. When no, don't you think Zach Neto needs different coaching from Kyron Paris, from Luis Rengifo, from Logan O'Hoppe, from Jorge Soler? Come on, right? Anyways, I was going to talk about Ron. I don't even have time to talk about Ron. I'll let you guys talk about Ron in the comment section after this one, because certainly conversations will be had. We're going to have all day tomorrow with no game to talk about Ron. And people like Kackmeister in here saying Ron is cooked. A current man saying I'm putting this on Ron. Certainly an argument. But at the end of the day, the lineup is not good. The rotation is okay. The bullpen is not good. And so could we really expect this team to be great? I don't know. Could we expect this team to be better? Yes. And so that's why he certainly deserves plenty of blame. Let me know what you think in the comment section. But certainly after an embarrassing loss like this, you now, even though you broke the 7-game losing streak, you had lost 9 of your last 10. You win 1 game. So it's 9 of your last 11. You lose again today. You've now lost 10 of your last 12. You went from 8-4 to 13-20. You're 5-16 in your last 21. Of course, the manager needs to be questioned. And with that, we're going to leave it. So very, very, very long show today. Despite me feeling like, in all honesty, I didn't say that much. I think I'm just absolutely losing it at this game. But appreciate everyone in here as always. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Go enjoy some NBA basketball. I'm going to go watch my Warriors. I know nobody's rooting for them but me, but I'm going to be rooting for them. And have a great rest of your Sunday. Day off tomorrow. We can all, enjoy a day without the Angels, as much as it sucks to say it. We can enjoy a day without the Angels, and I'll be back here on Tuesday. I'll be back in LA. Of course, it's been a very emotional, long weekend for me. So again, the Angels did not help today, but yesterday was certainly helpful. You guys always being in here, providing jokes and everything certainly helps a lot. So I'll be flying back to LA tomorrow during the off day, which is perfect for me. I guess I get a travel day as well. And just like the Angels, I'll be flying. Or no, I won't be flying. They're already in LA. What am I saying? But I'll be flying. They'll be staying. And then we'll return Tuesday evening after our series opener against the Toronto Blue Jays. That's a 6:38 first pitch. So you can expect me live at around 9:10, depending on how long the game is. I'll see you guys then. Have a great rest of your day and a great day tomorrow. Take care. Go Angels.